Afternoon, everyone. It's Quinton Douman here. It's so good to be at the HR Summit again. I've got fond memories of last year when we were at the Santon Convention Center. Some of you will remember me talking about the Vuja Day mentality at that time. And the Vuja Day mentality, as you will know, is all about seeing old things with a brand new perspective. And aren't we all forced now to have a Vuja Day mentality? I mean, even at the time, I didn't know that 1 year later at the summit, I'd be addressing you on this platform. I didn't know that being a speaker would now also include being sure you know how to do lighting and makeup and making sure your visual production is all sorted, that you just can't be speaking. I didn't know that I'd be presenting here today with a shirt and a pullover on top and a pair of shorts and running shoes at the bottom. So, yes, I know I don't need to tell you, but it is a brand new day, perfect for a Vuja Day mentality. I'm privileged this year to tell you an awesome story, to tell you a story about a training department that wanted to be something different, something more, something significant. A training department that knew that it had the potential to be great but was not great at the time. In fact, a training department that found themselves in a bit of a quagmire. So I've titled my presentation From the Quagmire to Quantico. And not only is it the title of the presentation, but it was also the title of the journey we had embarked on as the PPS Academy a few years ago. From the quagmire to Quantico. So the quagmire, for some of the reasons I've alluded to, the processes were outdated and some of them not even documented. The delivery of training was not at a standard that was worth celebrating. And we had this idea that we could become a Quantico. And I'm not sure if you know what Quantico is, but Quantico is the training academy for the FBI. And for many years now, if the FBI is known as one of the, or actually the top law enforcement training academy in the world. And if you said that you were trained at Quantico, it settled everything. It answered all questions, those that were asked and those that were not asked. It was if you were a graduate from Quantico, you had the highest level of skill and expertise. And so this journey we embarked on very early with the PPS Academy. It's a training department that knew, like many training departments, that knew they could be more, they could be different, and they could be significant. So I wanna share with you what just 5 small wins that kind of that were very catalytic on this journey. And there are many more. Well, there are a few more at least, but I think for the time and for this setting, I wanted to shine a light on five of those big wins. And these are the five that I want to share today. The first one is to say that the journey to Quantico would never have materialized or would never be set in motion if we didn't have definiteness of purpose. And I know a lot of you are thinking, Napoleon Hill, principle of achievement. The next one is CEO backing and ownership. The third one is our decision to enter a global top 125 training competition. The fourth one you can say is internal promotion or woman empowerment. I'll leave you to decide when I get there. And the fifth one is to isolate, design, and deliver 3 strategic learning initiatives. So let me talk about the first one. The first one is around definiteness of purpose. Now, I already referred to Quantico, and that's a visual of the Quantico campus. And when I shared this story, this narrative with the CEO, he fell in love with the narrative immediately, even though he did not agree with Quantico as the place. Because if you look at this next visual, he was more of a Crottonville guy. His name's Isaac Smith, and he's followed the Jack Welch journey quite closely. So he knew that even Jack Welch, as part of his legacy, introduced and established the Leadership Institute just north of New York City on the Hudson River there, called Crottonville. But we were saying the same thing. I said to him, I said, Isaac, the PPS training department can be what Quantico is to the FBI. And he says, yes, I think it can be what Crottonville is to General Electric. And I said, it can be what the Hamburger University is to McDonald's and what the Apple University is to Apple. And we both settled on that narrative to say, we can be that. We can, in fact, become the secret weapon for this organization. Because that's what all those corporate universities and corporate academies were. They were a secret weapon. It was the academies and those corporate universities that were able to personalize strategy for everyone in the company and shape and mold the culture of that organization. So we settled on that, and it was a purpose that resonated with him. It was a purpose that resonated with us at the academy, and it was a purpose that resonated with staff. We had our first small win. We had definiteness of purpose. The second small win, very closely related to this one, is then the backing or the ownership that came from the CEO, Isaac Smith. Now, I guess many of you that are watching and that are going to be in conversation with me later in the breakout room know how important this is. And very often, training and development can just be one item. People will say it, but will never really back it with real meaningful action. I can say that this was a big small win. There's no way we move forward on our journey without the ownership and the backing at the CEO level. The group CEO is the quintessential lifelong learner as an individual, but as the CEO of the group is also a great supporter of development, a great supporter of progress. So this was a wonderful step. It was a necessary step, and dare I say it, I think I was pretty lucky to be in a situation where I didn't have to work so hard to get that buy-in. In actual fact, I think even if it's one day sees a recording of this, uh, he will maybe say that this is his academy, and that is also okay. And it's up to all of. I mean, we have for longest time felt that it was up to us to make sure that is a solid part of this chapter in the PPS history books. The next one, I want to spend some time here. I learned many years ago that if you are in the learning business, now I've been the head of people development at Liberty Life many years ago. I owned my own consulting and training business, speaker, consulting with other companies. The one thing we know in the learning business is credibility matters more than anything. And I'm not just talking about anecdotal stories of people saying that, oh, the training there is great and we had a wonderful training experience or learning experience there. You need a third party to verify and to legitimize your excellence. So what we did was we searched for a competition that would hopefully give us that, or that would at least put us on a journey to achieving that. And then we found the global top 125 from Training Magazine. And we like the idea of aiming for this milestone at a global level. But let me tell you what actually made the biggest difference here. It was the category, no, it was the criteria. It was the criteria in the competition. When we looked at the criteria, we knew that if we were just to be eligible to compete, we would have changed completely what the PPS Academy looked like. So just the training scope and involvement in business strategy, that's a big one. Impact, a big one. And here's the thing, in the way you communicate the impact, you can't just use ROI formulas from Kirkpatrick or whatever. It had to be real tracking of regions or different divisions and sales distribution channels on how the training had real impact to bottom line. And there were things around competency maps and compensation tied to training. They looked for an outstanding training initiative as well as a best practice initiative. So that got us going in one direction. your infrastructure and processes, and of course, alignment to group strategy. So when we looked at this, and what I think another thing that I want to mention that's noteworthy is that the competition is measured uh, both from a quantitative and from a qualitative perspective. So there was that balance. There was a panel that was dedicated to going through each application, and that process. We said to the team, if we can just apply, we'll be happy. Even if we don't win, even if we don't make the cut, we would be that much better. So that was a great part of this journey, is becoming better through this process. It was tough. Changing processes, documenting process, refining process. That was tough. Thinking through an outstanding initiative, not just a training initiative, but an outstanding one. That was, yeah, that was a beautiful part of this journey. The next small win is the internal promotion of a few individuals, or maybe in this case, I would say the empowering of women in the academy. So when I arrived there, I must also say that I arrived as a consultant. I was hired as a speaker there, and then our relationship grew to that of a consultant, and later on, had the privilege to run the academy. What I found there, and I think this is the case in many places, was talented, highly talented and gifted people that were underutilized and maybe even overlooked. You know what? Let me not say maybe. Let me just say overlooked. Highly competent, highly gifted, but overlooked. Initially promoted two black females into leadership roles, which was a shock. First of all, it was a shock inside the academy because they had not experienced this level of belief before. And I think what it had done, it for the very first allowed the academy to embody the very thing that it teaches: progress, development. Now I think that's the message it sent to the rest of the business. But internally, it was a message of hope. It was a message of growth. It was a message of opportunity. And this place came alive in the most beautiful way. It came alive in a way that people could sense it, they could see it, they could feel it. I think about Edgar Schein's culture model, where he talks about espoused beliefs and behavioral artifacts. You could see in the artifacts because all of a sudden something happened to change the underlying assumptions of people in that team, and you could see it in the artifacts. And people say, hey, there's something different, there's something different. But here's the thing: we had definiteness of purpose, we had the backing of the CEO. We were on a journey to become global top 125. So we were working hard to change processes. And now we had promoted people who had been overlooked for the longest time. So that's the penultimate one. The final win. And you know what? I sort of snuck three things in here because I wanted to stay true to the 5 points, and obviously to the 15 minutes that's been allocated here. But this fifth one is, yeah, it is critical. We identified three strategic learning initiatives that would do or that would bring us closer to our purpose. This definiteness of purpose that said we wanted to personalize group strategy for every single person in the organization. We wanted to shape and mold the culture so that it is conducive for the achievement of those objectives. So the first thing we did was revamp our induction. Okay, I know this seems elementary, but we revamped our induction and it was fresh. I'll give you an example. It starts on a Sunday night with cocktails. Well, it used to. It used to start with cocktails and a social gathering, and people could just meet socially, have a glass of wine, and just meet friends. And again, the CEO used to be available and present at all inductions. Our executive committee were available and present at all inductions. Well, they were on a roster, so not all of them were there at the same time. But the induction, we recognized that this was the first place, the first opportunity you had to personalize strategy for every new employee. I know Edgar Schein also talks about it. He says it's called indoctrination. It's called coercive persuasion. Don't come and call it induction. Call it what you want. It was a way to get people to embrace how things are done at PPS. So that was quite important. And we brought the group together because prior to that, each business used to have their own inductions, the insurance business, the investment business, the healthcare business. And this was an opportunity to bring that together. The second initiative was brand leadership. Brand leadership is a learning immersion that at its core has a computer-based simulation, allows global classrooms and cross-functional classrooms to make business decisions as if they were the leaders or even owners of the organization. So this is one of the things that counted in our favor in the competition, because this was our outstanding learning initiative. And then the last one is leading the PPS way. You know, the one thing I found, so this is something I forgot to mention, and I'm going to sneak this in quickly. The CEO was he was so inspired by our story in the beginning. He then sponsored a study tour and facilitated a process for me to go around the world and visit business schools and corporate universities all over the world. Okay, this is like India, Philly, New York, all of them. Okay, I was at Stanford, I was at Columbia, I was at Wharton. And so just taking all of those learnings and trying and bringing it back into the academy. So here's one of the learnings there. Your leadership program must be great in content, but it must be even better in context. And leading the PPS way is exactly that. It was an opportunity for us to deliver a program that was rich in content, but even richer in context. Now, I know that we're going to chat in the breakout room, and I'm encouraging you to ask questions and engage me in a two-way conversation. But these are the 5 wins, ladies and gentlemen. These were our 5 small wins that led to eventually myself and our learning analytics specialist, her name is Ursula Rabanye. We were at the Disney Springs in Orlando last year to accept on behalf of PPS the award for being a global top 125 training organization. Listen, I hope that you have found value in this little story. I'm inspired every time I tell it, and I hope that there was something in there for you as well. You know, definiteness of purpose, the backing and the ownership of the, from the CEO, entering a global competition, internally promoting and growing people, and then landing 3 strategic learning initiatives. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention. And I look forward to engaging you further in the breakout room.